let's see if we can talk about just that. Let's see if we can move into differentiating a little bit more the Ratwa from other groups. What makes them sort of culturally, or with regard to their cultural identity, what sets them apart? What are the different aspects that set them apart?
I would say that, see, the language is different from other tribal communities because most tribal communities in India have their own languages. And many of these languages are recognized by linguists as dialects and not languages. That is a different debate altogether. But in terms of the cultural practices, most of the tribal communities in India, their life cycle is related to the seasons and the agricultural cycle. So that is similar, but in terms of how they are distinguished from other tribes, one would be their language, also their music, their arts and craft, their some of the rituals would be different. But what is also interesting is what ties them to other indigenous communities. One is the scheduled tribe status because they are, at least at present, they are listed as a scheduled tribe, though there is this whole debate going on. So that is one. And also, they are related to the forest. Tribals in India are known as the forest people. They have had this long historical relationship with the forest. And thirdly, I would say what also binds them with other indigenous communities in India is the issues, which are mainly, if we call it in Hindi, is Jal, Jungle and Jameen, that is water, the dispute over water, the forest, and the land. Those are three primary conflicts which tribal communities have with the state or with the larger society.
Thank you, Sonal. That was very informative. Sandhya, did you want to add anything to that?
I think she has capsuled it very well.
Yes.
I will read out something to you which is not exactly related to the question you asked, but it might throw a little light on what tribals in India are thinking or what makes them different
Please,
from
that sounds great.
farming communities. Okay, so this author writes, in everyday life, a tribal society may have many features in common with a peasantry, but by definition, tribesmen are not surplus producing peasants. This is a very interesting differentiation. It is peasants who are the subordinated givers of labor or surplus to a dominant social or political class. In contrast, and theoretically, the affairs of tribal people do not depend on the markets or the law and order institutions of a larger society whose centers of power are located in forts or towns. Tribal households have a degree of self sufficiency not evident amongst peasants. The tribal society thus has a structure that is simpler than class or state society, need not be a pejorative understanding at all. Stages of social evolution do proceed from the simple to the more complex in terms of economic activities and their connections, the number of specializations in the economy, the variety of roles in political activities, and so on. Besides, over the long term stages of cultural development succeeded one another in a certain order. Nowhere in the world did states come into existence when people had just begun to hunt and gather. Nowhere in the world did industrial capitalism appear before feudalism. Neither does the synthesis of state and tribe in medieval or early modern times in Northern Africa and Western Asia delegitimize the notion of the tribe. I think that's very interesting, isn't it?
So it has to do with their traditional and even current relationship to the existing larger governmental and social system. Yeah.
She also goes on to say this, and this is really even more interesting than what I just read. She writes, as for inequalities, in every society, some individuals are richer than others. Some men have leadership qualities and enjoy prestige, and others do not. But rich and poor are not what we mean when we say that tribes are egalitarian societies. What it means is that being rich does not entitle a tribesman to exploit the labor or the hospitality of his kin. Ideally and originally, tribes or lineages collectively hold title to land and pastures so that no member of a tribe can be deprived of access to the group's resources, just as no member can sell away land that is closely associated with the ancestor gods. A tribesman does not enrich himself or rise to political leadership by pushing others down. Also, the son of a charismatic chief does not necessarily succeed to the chieftainship. So, in this context, this whole issue of water, forest, land becomes very, very complicated for the tribes. And it is impossible, really, truly, it is impossible for mainstream communities to understand this attitude to life.